ever approved scholarships to members of parliament, including current education minister Matthew Opoku Prempeh.
I came here around 7, only for we to arrive, and then it's like the machines are not yet in.
In 2014, we had an invitation from Harvard University, and Get Fund sponsored it.
I have checked. I was at the ministry. I was in charge of tertiary education. At no point did these requests come to us. These approvals have not been granted.
We hear from the auditors behind the revelation that several politicians abused state scholarships meant for needy but brilliant students.
This is Top Story with Evans Mensah.
And Top Story is always brought to you by Bond Savings and Loans. Your success, our passion, is also brought to you by Gasem Cement, the Nation Builder, and Vodafone. The future is exciting. Ready. Now, there is further controversy tonight about the alleged abuse of state scholarships meant for needy but brilliant students by politicians, uncovered by the Auditor General. Now, a controversial report revealed that members of Parliament, including Matthew Opoku Prempeh, the current Education Minister, Ignatius Bafwewa, the current Employment Minister, the Deputy Majority Leader, Adjo Safo, who is also Minister of State responsible for procurement, as well as the Deputy Agric Minister, Kennedy Osei-Nyarko, all received scholarships from the Ghana Education Trust Fund, GET Fund, meant for needy but brilliant students. Now, a number of them have reactions to this. We're getting a few more tonight to the revelations in the Auditor General's report. Now, but following the accusations, the current Education Minister, Matthew Opoku Prempeh, gave this reaction, denying that he received this particular scholarship while he was the Education Minister. Listen to it, speaking to sister station Adom FM.
Ministry of Education. There is no iota of truth in this matter. As a minister with oversight responsibility of a GET Fund, I have not taken money from the fund. It is absolutely false. The truth of the matter is, in 2014, we had an invitation from Harvard University to pursue a course, and GET Fund sponsored it.
Parliament, GET Fund sponsor.
I would not mention any names. Not all of us got the money from GET Fund.
2014, Harvard to the suffering, same GET Fund sponsor.
So that is Matthew Opoku Prempeh speaking to us, my sister station Adom FM earlier today, denying that he received this scholarship under this current administration while he was still serving as Education Minister. He clarifies that indeed, yes, he got the funding, but it was given to him in 2014. Well, guess what? We've been speaking a short while ago on Pulse, on Joy News Channel with Gifty and with the Deputy Education Minister at that time, Samuel Okudzoto-Ablakwa, who says that that particular session is inaccurate because his government never approved that particular scholarship that Matthew Opoku Prempeh references. Listen to him.
An embarrassing audit report, unconscionable, a sad day for public office. It's not the kind of audit report that gives public office a good name, and we have to be honest about that. So section 22E, which there's an attempt to justify what has happened. If you read section 22E carefully, it says that though the GET Fund can carry out other programs in the interest of education generally in Ghana, it requires ministerial approval and the approval of the Get Fund Board. I served at the Ministry of Education for 4 years. There was no ministerial approval for the scholarships that I'm seeing, the names that have been published. And so it is important for us to commend the Auditor General for what they have done. I will support surcharging all of those public officials, MPs, ministers of state who continue to benefit even now as we speak, because remember that the audit report is from 2012 to 2018. They ought to be surcharged and they must refund those monies to the state.
Okay.
It's totally unconscionable. It's morally reprehensible. It cannot be justified whatsoever.
These persons that you've mentioned, none of them had their scholarship given in this or under this regime. It probably was the time when you were deputy and minister. Your response?
There are many factual inaccuracies with this Get Fund statement. First of all, Section 22E of Act 581, the statement refuses to quote the provision in full. Let's read the provision in full. It stipulates to provide monies to support such other educational activities and programs for the promotion of education as the minister in consultation with the board may determine. If you go to the interpretation section of this act, the minister is the Minister of Education. I have checked. I was at the ministry. I was in charge of tertiary education. At no point did these requests come to us for approval. So the Minister of Education ought to have approved this. These approvals have not been granted.
That is Kudjoto Ablakwa there. He was a deputy education minister at the time that Martin Opoku-Prempeh had claimed in a statement today that he received this particular scholarship. Let's speak to the spokesperson for the education ministry. In fact, he signed that particular statement, Vincent Akwasafa. Mr. Safa, thank you for your time here on Top Story.
Thank you, Evans.
You've heard Mr. Ablakwa's assertions there. Your reaction?
Well, let me say a very good evening to your cherished listeners. Evans, let me state that whatever Honorable Kudjoto Ablakwa is putting out there is very unfortunate. Ablakwa is just trying to tell the people of Ghana that he slept on the job. And I'm saying this on this basis. I have in my hand a letter that was signed by the Get Fund director, person Sam Gariba, who was the administrator of Get Fund. Now, the letter that he signed was a sponsorship, or let me say the confirmation of sponsorship that was given to Dr. Matthew Opoku-Prempeh. And so it is unconscionable, and it's almost like competing with Lucifer when it comes to deceit and lies. That you were the minister or the deputy minister of education in charge of tertiary, you never signed or approved any sponsorship for Dr. Matthew Opoku-Prempeh. But we have a letter, and I have in my hand a letter that was signed by Sam Gariba. So it is very, very unfortunate. It's a statement that is coming from Kudjoto Ablakwa to have said that there was no letter that was approved, or there was no approval of any sponsorship to Dr. Matthew.
But you heard him say,
just hold on. I have a document also from a company called Stellar Travel, and that is the traveling agency that was, let me say, given to Matthew Opoku-Prempeh as an agency that is supposed to be dealing with this traveling expenses. And that Stellar Travel was also given to Dr. Matthew Opoku-Prempeh by the Get Fund administrator. So it's quite unfortunate. For
all this happened in 2014, he says.
Let me check the date of the letter. It's a program that happened. I don't have the date here, but it was addressed to Neil Duckworth, Senior Director, Senior Executive in National and International Security. This one was a school, let me say, it's the department in Harvard Kennedy School, Executive Education. So this is something that happened during the opposition days.
Okay. Now, Mr. Ablakwa was emphatic that per the Get Fund law, such requests will have to be approved by the minister. And you heard him say that he's checked, and nothing like that was ever approved.
And that is what I'm telling you. He slept on the job. He has just exposed himself. And I'm saying that Minister of Education, the current Minister of Education, at the time Member of Parliament, Dr. Matthew Kuku-Pempe, received a confirmation of sponsorship from Sam Gariba, who was the administrator of GetFund.
Having said that, and we're trying to get Mr. Black on the line to put a few of the questions to him now that you're contradicting what he also had said tonight. But having said that, I mean, Matthew Kuku-Pempe was a member of Parliament then in 2014. The Auditor General is quite clear that people like himself as a member of Parliament should not qualify for a scholarship because the scholarship is meant for needy but brilliant students. He certainly, as a member of Parliament, wasn't needy, even if he was brilliant.
Well, that is his own interpretation to the law.
You mean the Auditor General's interpretation to the law?
But you said that the Kudeta Black was...
No, I'm talking about what the Auditor General said.
Well, I'm quoting the Act to you, Act 581, and if you check Section 5.2b, clearly, that is where it's supposed to be given to needy but brilliant students. But if you go further to read the law, Section 5.2e clearly talks about how monies are supposed to be provided to support educational activities and programs for the promotion of education. So, the minister may consult the Board of Trustees of the Get Fund, and when they decide that they need to promote education in this country, as to how they want to do it, then so be it. So I think that Dr. Matthew Kuku-Pempe may have cover under Section 5.2e of the Get Fund Act 581.
Now, so as far as you're concerned, your interpretation is that as a member of Parliament and under the Get Fund Act, he can also benefit.
I am saying that it is not explicit as per the law, but the law gives room for the Minister of Education, in consultation with Get Fund, in promotion of education, to provide funds for such purposes. If the minister at that time, in consultation with Get Fund Board of Trustees, and as Okudeta Blackwa has clearly indicated that he slept on the job, he didn't know some of these approvals were made during his time, and that is fine. But the most important thing is that it is at the discretion of the Minister of Education and the Board of Trustees to have given such approval to any beneficiary of Get Fund.
So the law you quoted, and as you just rightly articulated, that particular type of benefit under the scholarship and Get Fund Act requires the approval of both the minister and the board of Get Fund. Question is, do you have evidence to show that Matthew Kuku-Pempe's application got the approval of the board and the minister at that time? Because you said the letter you have was signed by the Get Fund board.
Dr. Matthew Kuku-Pempe was an opposition member of Parliament. He couldn't have gotten such a confirmation of sponsorship by fraud. We had leaders, we had administrators who were leading Get Fund. And so this is the question that should be put to people who had Get Fund and people who were in administration at that time. And Dr. Matthew Kuku-Pempe can only give you a confirmation of the sponsorship that he had from Get Fund. Whatever you are asking would have to be provided by the Get Fund administration, not Dr. Matthew Kuku-Pempe.
I mean, Matthew Kuku-Pempe then, as a member of Parliament, definitely should also be interested in not only that I got the scholarship, but also I got it legally. You're saying that it doesn't bother him at all if indeed it turns out that the law was breached, as the Auditor General asserts in his report. It doesn't bother him. The fact that he got it is okay.
Dr. Matthew Kuku-Pempe couldn't have gotten a confirmation of sponsorship from Get Fund illegally. But the Auditor General says
that particular scholarship he got and others got was procured illegally because it required board and ministerial approval, and in fact was also for needy and brilliant students.
Evans, the current performance audit by the Auditor General's Department was done at the instance of Get Fund. It is Get Fund who saw that over the years since 2012-2018, there has been some discrepancies as to providing scholarships for students in this country, and for that matter, they decided that why don't we have an audit so that we could be able to correct all the anomalies. And so from 2012-2018, that is why I do the distinction that it is for academic years and not for fiscal years. So Get Fund was indicted from 2012 to 2017. And for the 2017, the Get Fund administrator had to write back to the Auditor General that there was no overrun. So we accept that there are structural problems with Get Fund, and that is why we had to cause the audit into Get Fund administration, how sponsorships are being awarded. Because we lived in this country whereby at the point Get Fund was giving scholarships to students over 300% as to the funds that were required or the funds that they had in their account. So what it meant was that since 2017 onwards, government had no business awarding any sponsorship to anybody. But we had to take an innovative way to find a way to actually give sponsorship to students. And for the first time, we were giving scholarships to students, let me say partial scholarship, whereby if a student who goes to University of Ghana is supposed to be paying about 5,000, Get Fund was paying about 2,500 for that particular student. So we had to use innovative ways. So we understand that there are structural problems with Get Fund, but that is why we caused that audit, the performance audit in Get Fund, for us to be able to deal with the anomalies that we have in Get Fund.
There's something I quickly need to check with the audit service itself that carried out this particular audit, and I'm delighted to say that I've just been joined right now on the line by the principal auditor, and she led this particular audit into the Get Fund. And she joins me on the telephone line right now, Madam Alberta O. Madam O, thank you for your time here on Top Story.
You're welcome.
Can you please clarify for me who commissioned this particular audit? Was it the Get Fund?
Yes, the Get Fund asked for the Auditor General to look into scholarship administration and Get Fund.
So the Get Fund itself asked that you audit the agency.
Scholarships, yes.
For the scholarships. When did you receive this request?
The time the request came in would have to come from management, because when the request came in, the team was commissioned to go and do the audit. So I wouldn't have details of the background to the commissioning of the audit.
Okay, and give me a sense of, I know the audit you did covered 2012, 2018.
Yes, please.
But in terms of the actual work that you did, was it done last year?
No, we started the work in 2017 and went back last year to do a follow-up. So we started the work from March to July 2017 and had to go back in March 2019 to do a top-up.
Okay, and so based on what you have found so far and which has been published, what further actions have you taken in the wake of that report that you put together?
The report has been presented to the Speaker of Parliament and it's going to be laid before Parliament, and the Public Accounts Committee would sit on it. So that is what the Audit Service has done.
I'm pretty sure you've seen the statement from the Get Fund. The Get Fund disputes that, one, that you describe in your report that it was illegal to award these scholarships to politicians because the law was explicit, you said, that those who should benefit should be needy and brilliant. Now, the Get Fund had explained that the law also allowed some discretion in the award of these scholarships to people who may not necessarily fall within the particular bracket. What's your reaction to that?
I would say that the Section 22E of the Act says that the Get Fund is supposed to provide money to support other educational activities, but it's supposed to be done in consultation with the board. So we didn't see any documentation on the consultation that was done with the board. So yes, the law allows them to do other things to support education, but there was no evidence to show that the Secretariat did that in providing the scholarship to these other people.
So there are two lines of approval from what I read in the law, which is the board must approve. You say you did not find any documentation to show that the board has approved. What about the ministerial approval? Did you find any documentation to show that the minister may have approved as well?
No, there was also no documentation to show that they had any approval from the minister.
So this must have been, and I think you articulated that in your report, this must have been a unilateral approval by the boss of the Get Fund.
So the Get Fund, the administrator. The administration approved the scholarship to the people under the Section 22E without the input from the minister and then the board, yes.
This has already been forwarded, you indicated, to Parliament, and you're hoping that the Parliament Public Accounts Committee will look into it. Do you get any responses? Because you've written in there a recommendation that one of the things you're looking to do is to surcharge. I wonder, the surcharge, would it be on the Get Fund or those who benefited, as you put it, illegally?
The audit was for the institution. We audited the institution, that is Get Fund, to see that whether they have a systems in place to administer scholarship. So we're not looking at individuals, but we're looking at how the Get Fund as an institute was administering scholarship. So it is the institute that is going to be responsible for the recommendations in the report and not the individuals who benefited from the scholarships.
Okay, so in this case, the Get Fund as an institution will take on the surcharge, which, and I guess if you narrow it down, would have been the administrator or the administration itself. There must be somebody, an individual, somebody who will take that on. Would you say will be the administrator, the Get Fund administrator, who will bear that cost?
It's an institution, so we at the moment I can't single out who would be surcharged. The surcharge is the Auditor General who surcharges. So I can't speak for the Auditor General now, but what I can say is that the audit was on the institution. So if somebody has to be responsible for the actions of the institute, because we don't audit individuals, we audit institutions.
Get Fund requested for this audit. I mean, I'm pretty sure. Did you share your findings with them, and what did they say?
Yeah, so as part of our audit process, and as part of as stated in the Audit Service Act, we send our audit reports, the draft reports, to the audited entity for 30 days for them to validate the information in the report to see whether we've been fair in our conclusions and also whether the recommendations in the report can be implemented. So Get Fund got the opportunity to have the report for the stated days in the Act, and also they brought their responses. So we got responses from the old management and the responses for the current administration. So it's all in the report for readers to read.
Since the publication of the report on your website, a few individuals have come forward to say that although they've seen their names in the table of beneficiaries, they actually didn't receive a penny from Get Fund. I've heard some of them actually pretty upset and suggesting that they might even take legal action because they suspect somebody may have taken the monies in their names and yet they have their names there. Can you explain that? How did that happen? How did you come to the conclusion that all these names, in fact, did in fact benefit?
We, as part of the audit, we reviewed documentation and spoke to officials of Get Fund. So these beneficiaries had their names in the approved beneficiaries from Get Fund. So it's a list we got from Get Fund, and that is what we produced in the report.
There are a few of individuals. So all this was purely based on documentation that you got from Get Fund?
Yes.
So if somebody finds their names in the list, it must have been Get Fund internal documentation that says you got a fund from us.
Yes, please.
Okay. There are a few individuals who, for what we understand, may still be in school, have not finished, still receiving these funds, because I know you indicated that the Get Fund, this particular Get Fund scholarship, should be only for schools in Ghana, right? And not for schools abroad. But there are many on Get Fund scholarship who are currently in school abroad. Did you make a recommendation on how to fix the particular problem, and what is that recommendation? Hello, Madam Saho.
Yes.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
I'm asking about whether there was a recommendation to deal with the problem you found that this Get Fund was breaching the law by giving scholarships for studies abroad, when you say that the study should be local. For those students who are, for many, in fact, who are still on Get Fund scholarship studying abroad, which you believe is a breach of the law, what's your recommendation on that?
So the recommendation on that is that Get Fund, like the Secretariat, should be more prudent in its spending on scholarships. And then we recommended that the Board of Trustees should effectively exercise its oversight on the administrator to prevent such happenings in future.
I'm grateful that you joined us with your thoughts on this. And that is the principal auditor, and she led this particular audit into the Get Fund, and she is Madam Alberta Owo. I still have with me the spokesperson. For the audit service on the telephone line with me, Mr. Sefwa, who is on the line. Mr. Sefwa, so you had the lead there mention specifically the approval processes that one require to benefit from this. In the case of your boss, the education minister, clearly from what they found, they didn't find any documentation to suggest that neither the board nor the minister had approved, and that this must have been a decision taken unilaterally by the Get Fund administrator, which makes it illegal as far as you're concerned. What is your reaction of your boss to the fact that now that it's emerged that the scholarship he received then was in fact awarded to him not in accordance with the law that set up the Get Fund?
If you are looking for documents with Get Fund and you are unable to find those documents, I don't know how my boss, Dr. Matthew Puku-Prempeh, comes in here. But be that as it may, I am of the opinion that Section 2E of Act 581 clearly covers Dr. Matthew Puku-Prempeh. He wrote to the Ghana Education Trust Fund. He won a sponsorship on merit. He was given a letter. He was given a company, a travel agency to deal with. And so I don't see any problem at all as to whatever the Auditor General is talking about. We believe that he's covered per the law, and if anybody needs to be blamed, that is, if anybody has faltered with the law, then it should be the Get Fund, not Dr. Matthew Puku-Prempeh.
Okay, and the fundamental question about as a member of parliament, should he even be applying to a state agency for a scholarship when there are people in this constituency who need it far more than he does? There's a moral question there, even if it's not illegal.
The framers of the law contemplated and so that there could be an instance whereby a member of parliament may need some amount of knowledge to be able to contribute effectively in the House of Parliament. We've all known Dr. Matthew Puku-Prempeh, the vociferous and the robust, the articulate and the eloquent Dr. Matthew Puku-Prempeh. Of course, if he benefits from Get Fund scholarship, then what we know is that it is Ghana, it is a nation who is going to benefit from. So I don't see anything wrong with that. He went on a 3-week training. It's almost like the Minister of Education traveling outside the country to go and have some amount of conference or some conference with people outside to probably learn some 1 or 2 things to come and help this nation. So I don't see anything wrong with the sponsorship from Get Fund to Dr. Matthew Puku-Prempeh.
I'm grateful, Vincent Ikosafwa. He speaks for the Education Ministry. Newsnight starts right now.